Patty McGarrahan with the Mindz Eye. And today I have as a guest, I have Bill Hannon. And I actually work with Bill on another TV show that I'm the camera person sometimes or whatever I am. And he does the same thing. He's the one time he's actually on the panel, the next minute he's there. And in the process, we go out to eat afterwards and we chit chat. And he's brilliant with the homeopathic medicines and different stuff, and I've learned so much from him. So I brought him today on the show. So Bill Hannon.
Good to meet you. Right.
Yeah, good to meet me.
That's right. That's right. So you mentioned that you've been listening and you've actually implemented an item or two that we've talked about over dinner. And so maybe you could share with me so I know where I can jump in.
Begins with an R, mushroom.
Oh, reishi.
Reishi mushroom. Every time I say it, people laugh at me. I call it Reiki mushroom.
Reishi. It's the ray of she.
I like it, yes. And that mushroom, I have found that a couple of things, I'm actually feeling that I feel better. You had told me that it goes a long way, respiratory and stuff, and I have allergies on my allergies.
Right.
And they joke because I cough and knock out the team in the back, you know what I mean? And I have found that it is helping quite a bit with it.
That is actually one of the number one features of the reishi mushroom is the entire respiratory system. And the nice thing about it is it's a normalizer, it's a balancer. It balances every system in the body, whether it's the endocrine glandular system, your respiratory system. It's what it does is such as if you had a hyperactive thyroid or hypoactive thyroid, it doesn't matter. It doesn't discriminate. Its intent is to normalize and balance your thyroid, which is so important today because of all the additives they're putting in our foods, that a lot of these things are affecting people's thyroids. And the nice thing about it is this kind of dials it back and kind of resets, you know, your thymus gland, your adrenals, everything. It helps the communication between the pituitary, the pineal gland, and the thyroid, as well as the other members of the endocrine glandular system.
So I don't know all that. I just knew I felt better.
No, that's what I wanted to ask you.
But I got to tell you, one of the things that I had to laugh at is when I've told a few people what it was, they knew about it and they got excited when they found out that I felt that it made me get, you know, I'm the over 65 crowd now.
Right.
So I just found that it did make a difference with me. And I'm very fortunate because I do have very good health. And but I just found that the breathing section is it where they test me for the heart keeps going up fine, but it's all to do with breathing and everything. And I found, and I had Barrett's and stuff like that. And I have found that it's all helping. It's helping immensely. So I have to thank you for that. And that was all at a little Chinese restaurant and a discussion that came out. The one I've just started that I just already know that it's going to end up good for me is the dandelion root.
Yes, right. So the dandelion root is more specific. It's great for cleansing the body, but it's more specifically geared towards working with your liver. Now you can help your liver detoxify the bloodstream as it's going through. That's a big plus right there.
Absolutely, and the fact that I have troubles losing weight. That my cholesterol's good, my sugar's good, and everything's good going down the line. The only thing they have the concern on, so my doctor is intrigued by this and kind of watching how it works too. So I'll be going in a couple of months and we'll see what happens with that, because that's the only one. It isn't at the scary level yet, but it was moving up to that.
Oh yeah.
So you had talked about it, and I said, "Oh, let me give it a try."
One of the most hideous things that we have in our diet, and it's constantly being pushed on us. Almost everything that you take has sugar in it. And
I do have a sweet tooth.
Well, I mean, you know, it's actually like cocaine. It's very hard for a person to give up sugar if they're hooked on it. Okay, and you know, it's just such an inconspicuous thing. You're walking by, you pop something in your mouth. You know, but the thing is that affects your hormones and your cholesterol to such an extent that it's almost impossible to lose weight. And it isn't because of the calories. It's because of the way the sugar is affecting the endothelial cells inside the lining of the arteries.
Right.
And so this is very important if you can balance that out by taking magnesium or something like this that kind of helps the endothelial cells to relax your artery cells, which are now going to help lower your blood pressure. And all these things have to do with your circulatory system. It's so important, and yet it's such an easy fix to
just take a supplement, you know what I mean? Or eat it in your food if you could. But I got to tell you something, and I made sure that I bought like from a good place, not like,
sure.
Do you know what I mean? And the liver thing, as I said, I used to eat 3 Lindt, those.
Lindt chocolates?
Yeah, the truffles.
Yes.
And I loved having the chocolate, which the chocolate affects the Barrett's,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Which, as I said, I'm not considered having it because it's broken up some, but it's still some of the stuff is there.
Right.
And so I gave up that, and when I did, I was craving carbs like a maniac.
Yes.
And when I started craving carbs like a maniac,
Right.
it made everything the liver stuff shoot up.
Right.
So there was a concern.
Right.
And like I said, I went back to the 3 Lindts, and then I've also finding that I don't have to do it every day anymore.
Right. Okay.
So whatever's in my system is just kind of going.
Another way you can benefit from that is that they have Lindt has several grades of milk chocolate all the way through up to the 90%, very unsweet chocolate. But if you get like the 68 or the 72% dark chocolate, it might take a little getting used to, but then what that's going to do is that chocolate is actually very beneficial for your immune system. So you're getting the benefit, you don't feel like you're missing out so much. But in the meantime, you're still helping your immune system, and you're cutting down on sugar. And you mentioned carbs. I mean, carbs are a sugar.
Right.
We require fats, we require proteins. We don't require carbs. If you had a diet that had no carbs in it, you could live very healthily.
Right.
Okay.
And at home, I stay away from breads and stuff. In restaurant, I like restaurant breads,
Yeah,
but you know
yeah.
what I mean? If I'm going to have a sandwich, a lot of times I take one of those little tiny dinner rolls and open it up and put seafood or chicken or whatever on it.
Right.
And so I'm not a huge one.
Right.
But when I gave up those Lindts, it was like there were not enough carbs on this earth.
That's right. And it has to do with the amount of fats that are in the chocolate that are satiating. It isn't always the sugar. It's the fats that are in the chocolate that kind of give you that relaxing, it's just melting in your mouth.
Make you happy.
Yes.
That happy thing.
Right.
Now, how did you get into the herbal stuff?
I would have to say, when I was in high school, I used to go to some of the health food stores and pick up these magazines they had on the racks, which of course were advertisements and promotions. But after I started reading some of these, I started seeing similarities between principles as well as different herbs and vitamins, the things that they were trying to sell. I got to the point where I started to read between the lines, and I started seeing similarities, and things started kind of falling into place. And ever since high school, I've just been motivated towards health. And
Tell them how old you are, because you look fabulous for your age.
Thank you. 72. But,
72.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just
a healthy 72.
Yeah, I've had issues in the past. I weighed close to 300 pounds not too long ago, about a year and a half. I just started doing the intermittent fasting, and I just started losing over a slow period of time. I knocked down to about 235, 240, and consistently I'm just at that level, which is about what I was when I was 25. So.
Wow. to be where you're at 25. That's not a bad thing.
Right. Well, I'm sure there's a different makeup. No two ways about that. You look at my son. My sons, they're both very muscular, 240s, 260s,
Yep.
so. But anyhow, so that's how I got interested in this. And then I got to the point where I was actually applying what I was learning. I do forage for my own mushrooms. Everything I get is wild. And then what I do is I don't just use a 2-stage extraction process. I use a 3-stage extraction process by doing water, doing alcohol, then mixing so that you get the level that you want. You don't want too much alcohol, but it's necessary to break some of the hard constituents, such as the reishi mushroom. They call it the sulfur, not sulfur shell, that's chicken of the woods. The red shellac mushroom. It has a reddish, very glossy finish to it. And the oils of the reishi, which is what does the healing, is in that shellac membrane. So along with heat, you need alcohol to break down that shellac. It's a solvent. Alcohol is a solvent. But then what you do is once you get your desired properties out of that part of the mushroom, then you turn around and you reduce it with water so it's consumable. And yet, because it has enough alcohol, it can last 7 to 10 years in a bottle.
Excellent.
So.
Did the first time that everything that you said really intrigued me, because I went home that night and I started really looking into it. You were talking about someone in 1946 from another country that had discovered that Brazilian walnuts prevented people from having a thing like an epidemic.
Brazil nuts. Yeah, well, that's right. COVID. I mean.
Because I laughed because in my supplements that I was taking already had all the main ingredients that were in the Brazil nuts.
Right.
Because my doctor was trying to find out. My grandson laid on my shoulder and was breathing in my face. And I had just been operated on, so they said I was more prone than ever to get it.
Of course.
And he's breathing in my face and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I had a couple other incidences similar to that happened.
Right.
And I never got it.
Right.
And I believe that it just made what you said about that.
Well, this actually happened. It was a doctor who was involved with the Ebola breakout that we had in the United States back in 2014. And he started doing researches trying to understand. He kind of came in late on what was going on, and they were using medicines, but he was trying to understand what is this person missing that makes them so susceptible to catch Ebola versus somebody who is not catching Ebola, living in the same household. And they realized that there was something that was probably in the blood, and it turned out to be selenium. And selenium, is it a wonder that China has problems with all the SARS viruses, the bird virus? I mean, all these viruses over the past 30, 40 years that have been coming out of China have been coming from the Wuhan area. Their soil's depleted of selenium. So their plants are not picking up the selenium, which the average person would be consuming. And then what would happen is your body would assimilate that. And unfortunately, what's happening is there wasn't enough selenium to give them the protection they needed. So this guy, actually, the doctor, and this is all substantiated. This is
I looked up some of the stuff that you had talked about.
You go on PubMed, there's so many different bona fide scientific papers that have been done on this. 2 Brazil nuts a day will, even if you were to catch the virus and you had it active in your system, if you had 2 Brazil nuts, that's enough selenium to stop the COVID dead in its tracks in your bloodstream. It cannot reproduce once you have 200 micrograms per deciliter of blood. Again, the reishi, it's interesting. The reishi mushroom, you see the pictures of the COVID virus all over the place on TV and stuff like that, where they have the red spikes, and it looks like a little bit of Velcro or rough edge on the end of the spike. Well, the active ingredient that neutralizes the ability of the COVID virus to attach to your blood corpuscles, your RNA, to reproduce, it actually covers the ends of the spikes like dust. And it can't, in fact, the word they used was, oh gee, I wish I had thought about it before I came here, but basically what it's saying is it smothers. Blunts. They actually, in the paper, use the word blunts the virus spikes. So it can't stick to your blood cells, and therefore it can't reproduce, and your body just excretes it.
Excellent, excellent. Because they couldn't figure out, and it was constantly, I had all these antibodies.
Sure.
And so everybody's saying, well, you must have had it. And I come from a family where my daughter makes me test every time the wind blows in the wrong direction.
Right.
So I think I would have known if I had it,
Right.
minus the prior two. But it's supposed to be 250 antibodies, if you have COVID,
Right.
that you have for 90 days. And I had 650 for over a year.
Wow.
When they were checking it.
Wow.
So there was something else going on.
That's right.
And a lot of the stuff
Right.
that I read about
Right.
were included in what
Right.
I take regularly.
Right. Well, that's great. I mean, there's so many things that you can take regularly, such as, I drink all the time, especially during the summer. I'm a very prolific drinker of black teas or the green tea, and a green iced tea. So I go to Cumberland Farms and I'll pick up the large container for $1. Very high in EGCGs. I'm not going to try to
I drink green tea as well.
And green tea is even higher than black teas. But the thing is, if you're drinking iced teas, especially like half a quart a day, again, it's one of the things that you can actually go to PubMed and punch in your field, COVID-19 and EGCGs, or green iced tea, or green tea. And it's going to come up, and it lays out the abstract, goes through the body of the study, gives all the particulars, then it has a summary or a conclusion. And these are all peer-reviewed studies published by the government. Now, why they didn't discern this information to everybody, I have no idea.
It's a political thing for another day, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So give us some other things that you use yourself, because you grow some of the stuff, right? Or find it.
Yes, I'm basically a wild harvester.
Wild harvest.
Yeah. So anyway, but it's just great to be out there with other people who do the same thing I do.
Right. I met a few of them.
Oh, absolutely, and they're great people. But the thing is that the background that you get while you're studying this, you meet different people, you share different information, and it kind of builds your foundation. You may have an understanding of this, but the way this other person said it, wow, that makes so much more sense than the way I thought I understood it.
Correct.
And so what's that doing is giving you a broader, stronger foundation, and you can keep on building on that to the point.
I love the fact that you do the more natural. I'm a disaster, and I end up eating poison mushrooms and doing something stupid. So I get it in a pill form.
Right.
Because I am just a disaster waiting to happen. I'm a city girl.
Right. No, but I understand entirely. I mean, you have to be smart. You have to be careful.
Correct.
Okay, I mean, there are things that you can like red kidney beans. You eat 5 of those and you're dead. Well, we're not talking about cooked kidney beans. We're cooked about raw kidney beans, and that's what they made. You can actually grind the kidney beans, and that's what it makes a powder. If you remember at the after the World Trade Center things, all these government officials were getting mail with white powder in it. And it was this...
Anthrax, yeah.
Anthrax, thank you. And that's what anthrax is made from, is red kidney beans.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's just so much
amazing.
stuff. It is, but, you process the products properly, and, you're able to absorb all the nutrients you need, the protein. And another really good thing about most of your mushrooms is that it supports your gut system. And unfortunately, a lot of the grains that we eat are split, and they've done so many
Insecticides too.
insecticides, genetic modifications, GMOs, all this stuff. And before, worldwide, there may have been about 5 different grains that the human population lived on. And right now, there's over 2,500 types of grains that have been adjusted. Rather than seeing these beautiful plants with wheat growing on the top of them, well, now, so a lot of the are only this tall because they consume less water. So therefore now, they can grow more arid. But what have they done with the genetic modification?
Absolutely.
So that's what's actually causing a lot of the wear and tear inside your small intestines, which leads to leaky gut syndrome, Crohn's, all these issues where the pre-digested stuff from your stomach is now going into your small intestines, but it's going through some of the small intestines, causing inflammation throughout your body. If we just stuck with the spelt and the millet and the types of grains, the amaranth, then your body has, over thousands of years adjusted to these few grains that they use. Right now, our bodies haven't had a chance to adjust to these explosion of all these grains.
Yeah.
And that's what's causing the wear and tear. And again, another mushroom has come to the rescue with that, is lion's mane mushroom.
What is that?
Lion's mane mushroom, if you look it up on the internet, it's a beautiful mushroom. I
don't get as excited about mushrooms as you do.
No, but the thing is that the nice thing about it is that, it's great for respiratory systems. It's great for the nervous system because it heals the nervous system. It actually coats the nerves with more myelin sheathing. So,
are they found around here?
yes, on smooth bark trees like not so much birch, but beech trees. I'm trying to think, sycamores, things like that, elm.
Oh, okay.
Smooth bark trees, they seem to have an affinity towards, but what it does is it's also one of the top 5 mushrooms for killing cancer, along with reishi, along with turkey tail. All these mushrooms grow around here. And it's amazing. You can just go out and pick yourself a basket of turkey tail. Within a few hundred feet of once you find some, you're going to find others. Yes, there are several different varieties. Some aren't as beneficial, but they all seem to have the basic cancer neutralizing effect.
Oh, that's excellent to know.
Yeah. So
there's so many things out there, and
it
you wonder
is.
why they don't know it, but we won't get into the pharmaceutical versus.
No. It's just nice to know that. It's shiitake mushroom. You can go down the Dave's Market and buy shiitake mushroom. Shiitake mushroom is such a potent anti-cancer mushroom that over in Japan, they had tried to chemically reproduce, pharmaceutically reproduce the active ingredients. And after 20, 30 years, they gave up on it and said, we can't isolate the active ingredient that's killing the cancer. And so what they've gone now, they've actually extract a water extraction process, and they actually put it into an IV, and that's the person's chemotherapy is mushroom juice.
Wow.
Okay. And
that's incredible.
It is, and it's very, very beneficial for the person not having to go through the chemo and the radiation and even possibly the surgery. It may be an adjunction to doing that, but still it's there to be used, and it's being used. It's been used for quite a period of time, but not in the United States. Can't do that.
No. So you have a whole group that you kind of do some of this work. Yes. We have. There are some people that are specifically the excellent foragers.
Brett Mayette and a few other friends that, but they even supply restaurants.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, local restaurants. You know, it's. I mean, these people know exactly what they're doing, and
I actually worked on the TV show for Holistic Spotlight,
yes.
Psychic Holistic Spotlight.
Yes.
And you had a few of them on there.
Yes, that's
Amazing
right.
gentlemen.
That's right. That's right. And it's great to be able just to go for a walk in the afternoon and maybe pick yourself 20, 30 pounds of mushrooms.
20, 30 pounds of mushrooms.
Yeah, go home, dehydrate them, you know, put them away, and now I make a 4-herb tea for people who have cancer, which is the 4-herb tea that Renee Casey made, a nurse up in Canada. That's had very, very great results at helping people. But I now incorporate mushrooms into my 4-herb tea.
I love mushrooms, so
Yeah, right.
that would really be absolutely perfect for me.
Right.
So I have to thank you for the knowledge that you've given me, because
Right.
I was in oblivion before these.
Right. As we all are. I mean, we're all ignorant of something because you don't know everything, and that's all it means. Is ignorance means you just don't know. You know, you don't have to get emotionally fired up about a word. Just understand what it means.
And Bill has, as I said, we go out for tea after we do these shows, tea and a little Chinese.
Yeah.
And when we go out to the restaurant, sometimes some of these subjects came up, and then I go home and I start Googling it.
Right, yeah.
And I've added some of them to the repertoire.
That's good. I mean, you know, one of the things that I know I mentioned that seemed to get a little response from the people around the table was that, I mean, you know you're an herbalist when you can freely talk about excrement.
Yes.
You know, because I mean that right there is just evidence of what's happening in your system.
Absolutely.
And you know, once you realize how certain herbs and basically it's just the food. And that's, you know, many different ways that you can approach it through a tea. You can, you know, take capsules. You can just fold it into your food.
I drink the tea, but the other stuff I've been doing the capsules on because
of course.
I have a tendency of racing in the house and putting something together.
Rush. Yes.
But no, I do. I thank you because it's been helpful. If anybody had any questions on this, is there a way for them to get a hold of you?
Not right now. I mean, you know, most of the people, we have an organization in Rhode Island people may be interested in, and it's called the Ocean State Herbal Association, or OSHA. Ocean State Herbal Association.
Ocean State Herbal Association.
Right.
That is excellent.
Right, and it gives us the opportunity of getting together with people that are interested in the same things. We have meetings. We talk about politically charged things, but I mean, nobody gets riled up, or, you know, everybody exchanges their train of thought, their you know, beliefs, but still everybody is.
That's perfect. Yes. Oh, that's excellent. And if you do have a question for him as well, I can get a hold of him.
Oh, please.
I can get a hold of him. He's actually taken some hypnosis with me.
That's right.
And so I was teasing him about getting some of his paperwork in.
That's right.
And I got to tell you something. I do thank you because you just don't realize your words of wisdom from the city girl.
Yeah.
Really found it very, very intriguing because I only knew about, you know, I came from, don't eat those mushrooms, you're going to make yourself sick.
Absolutely.
To I had a heart attack when my daughter went out and just started eating mushrooms when she was a little girl. And, you know, I'm calling
that'd be freaky.
I'm calling the ER, you know
what I mean,
and stuff like that because you didn't know.
Right.
And my house was a farm for many years ago.
Right.
And so
you have things popping up here and there.
That pop up, and she went and ate them, and I would be freaking out. So thank you so much for coming today.
Well, I'm glad I had the opportunity of sharing with you in the past as well as now.
Excellent, thank you, and have a good one.
Very good.
And anybody try to get a hold of them, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to share any information. You can find a lot of stuff on the internet, as well as, again, going to PubMed. Look up reishi and COVID. Look up turkey tail and cancer. All these things. It's not just mushrooms.
I love it. I love it. Yes, thank you so much.